Welcome to the Silent Hill Ascension post show. I'm still Layla, but I'm here with Wilma Rachel Rivera. Wilma,
Hi,
hello.
Layla.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So happy to have you here. Wilma, we just saw a whole bunch of stuff happen in Silent Hill Ascension in the live show. And listen, there's always a lot going on with Rachel. But today is about you. So would you mind taking just a second to introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me, Layla, and everyone on the production team. Just so grateful to be here and the audience. So thank you for tuning in, for watching Silent Hill Ascension. I am really grateful that you're enjoying it. So my name is Wilma Rivera. I am Puerto Rican and Cuban, first generation. My mom's from Puerto Rico, my dad's from Cuba, and I've been acting since I was a little girl professionally. Since I'm not going to give my age away, but professionally for a few years, definitely. And I currently live in Los Angeles. I was in New York for a really long time, and it's such an honor and a privilege to just be able to tell stories. And I've always loved telling stories since I was like 5 years old. I knew I wanted to be an actor. So to be able to get to do that more consistently in my life is just such a dream. So I'm really happy to be here. So excited. And just thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for sharing your talents with us. We're so happy to have you. Audience, if you wouldn't mind, we will be able to ask Wilma some questions. So if you guys have questions for her, please feel free to put them in the chat. I'll have them in a backlog, and I'll be able to pull them towards the end of the interview. But feel free to start asking them now or as they come up, so that you guys don't have to hang on to them. But hey, let's kick ourselves off with the question we usually ask, which is, Wilma, are you a fan of horror?
You know what? I am. When I was younger, I could not stand horror movies. I think till this day, like I like I hate being scared, but I like it at the same time. You know what I mean? So I did do one of my first films that I ever did was called Inve, and it was a horror film, and it was so much fun to film. And I was just like, oh my God, I really, really, really love this. So that kind of started my horror film or like horror love. And I really, really enjoy them, especially anything that has to do with like demons and like the idea of like spirituality kind of thing. I love the Silent Hill franchise as well, like all of it. So I'm just like, I'm one of those people that's like, no, I don't want to see it. But then I'm like, ooh, let's go see the scary movie, because I enjoy like that, like wanting to be scared and having to like close my eyes. I do like this the whole time.
Every time I see a scary movie, I feel like I'm hiding in someone's armpit the entire time.
Exactly. But I want to do it, you know?
Right. And it's funny that you say that, your love kind of started with doing it. So when we had Truda, Astrid's voice actress, on, she said the same thing, where like really doing it is part of the fun when you get to sit behind the scenes. And the story I always like to tell is working as a producer for a horror project. I get to make tickets for things like, please add flies to the viscera pile, which is just delightful.
Yeah.
So, in terms of the work itself, what was a typical day for you recording in the Los Angeles studio?
So Los Angeles studio, obviously after hitting all of the traffic, because there's tons of traffic in LA, I do my vocal warm-ups. I'd usually get some tea and honey, because I do have I don't know if you can probably hear it, but my voice is just naturally very raspy. That comes from years of just not taking care of it, and also natural. So I have to do a lot of tea, lots of vocal warm-ups. And then I would sit with our amazing director, Tiffany, who, we would do just a couple of run-throughs of like what was going on story-wise. And we just get into the studio and just start going in and talking about story and doing, the different performances of the different scenes. And typically, I'd ask a lot of questions, because this was such, like, there are so many pieces to this particular story. So I wanted to make sure that I was doing justice to this character and to this story. So that was really important to me, and just making sure that I had all of my ducks in a row to be able to, do this or give this project all the love and the attention that it deserved. So yeah, and it was just like, as a voice actor, I think, I don't know if other voice actors have talked about this, but you can only do so much in the studio for so many hours because there's lots of yelling and screaming before you have to be like, okay, we need to end for the day. So Rachel luckily has a lot of those. So a few days we're just like, can we, it was a lot on the voice, but it was so much fun. So it was always at the end, I was like, wow, this was really, really fun.
Good. I'm so happy to hear that. I've only been in a booth a couple of times, but it is a delight each time.
Every time, yeah.
We have some audience questions that are good follow-ups, actually, and I'm going to merge, if you will, two of them,
Sure.
Which is, how did you get your start in voice acting specifically, and then what was your reaction when you got cast as Rachel in Ascension?
Those are good questions. How did I get my start in voice acting? You know what? This was actually my first voiceover gig that I booked and performed in, which was really, really exciting. I have been auditioning for voiceover. I have, an agent. A lot of times agents also do voiceover work, voiceover casting as well. So I have a voiceover reel that I created and sent. And so this was actually the first thing that I booked. And I was so excited. Like, I read the story, I read kind of the breakdown is what we call them in the biz. And I was like, oh, I get this person, I get this character. And you know what else I did, honestly, Layla? For whoever asked the question, I listened to my fiance watches a lot of anime, and I'd watch, I know. So I'd watch a lot of the anime and hear what these other voice actors were doing, and just paying attention, just having a little bit more of a sharper ear, which I think anything that we do can really help us in our craft, and training our ear to just have a sharpness of how this voice, like closing my eyes and seeing if I can hear how the voice actor's telling the story, and taking that into my auditions. And every audition has been something I've learned from, and this kind of was just a culmination of all those auditions, and this one finally came in, and it was the right part for the right voice, and I was so excited to get this, so happy.
Again, just I'm so happy that this project has brought you so much joy, because I know it's been a hot minute since you were in the booth for us, but it's great to see that you still carry that joy with you, because it's good to see it as somebody who's been on the project for a long time, and you kind of brought up that you relate to Rachel, but when you read that breakdown, what was your first perception of Rachel's character? Like, how did you react to her? What was it about her that you found so relatable?
I think for me, it was that the notion of I have to take care of my family. Like, growing up, I think, in a Latino family where tradition and responsibility and loyalty and the things that we do, and family trauma, and us handing it down to our children, things get handed down, especially in Latino families. I really identified with that. And it was an opportunity for me to come at this from a different perception, because it is very easy, I think, for someone to approach this character in a way that's incredibly judgmental. And I think that puts a lot of actors in a box. And so I really tried to approach Rachel with what could draw someone so deeply into, believing what they believe so deeply, about the foundation, and thinking that it's the right thing to do. And it always came back to, I love my family, and my family is the most important thing to me. And so that for me was my in, and I kind of took that and ran with it. And whether or not it's moral or that's also can be a perception and how people perceive things, because there are certain things that people believe are I'm doing this for God, for my higher power, for God, for whatever. And to them, it's the right thing. But to an outside perspective, it's that's completely off the rails. So really just trying to approach it as just like, that's what attracted me to it at first. And where I kind of found it in was like, she loves her family. And,
Yeah.
you know, that's why she's doing everything she's doing. And, you know, as we've seen from the audience with, you know, with Ascension, that like, so, you know, not everyone agrees with how that comes out. But, you know, how exciting that, you know, people are starting to see the change as well in Rachel. So that's a good thing.
It is, yeah. It's very exciting because the audience definitely was not, let's say, not super on Rachel's side to begin with, but have certainly come around on her. And I definitely get what you mean in terms of, because every character has to be the hero in their own story.
100%.
And Rachel is definitely the hero in her own story, even if she has an awareness of the fact that the things she's doing aren't necessarily, quote unquote, moral in the moment, right? They're moral in her context.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a wonderful place to relate to, I think. What were your thoughts about the audience having Rachel take out her own eye? And actually, there's an audience follow-up to this, which is, were you proud of them?
I actually was, like, honestly, like, there were, you know, a few different storylines for that, you know, for that scene. And when I was recording, I was like, I really hope that they like self-sacrifice for me, because that's also like a big turning point for Rachel. Like, it would say something about the audience if like Rachel had like done it to someone else, you know, had taken out someone else's eye. And so, yes, I was really, really proud of the audience. And, you know, again, it's that notion of just like, how deeply do we, how can I say this? It's like, how does our convictions, right? Like, what does that do to us? What does it make us do to ourselves? Like, how deeply do we believe in something that it affects us? And like, it sounds crazy to like rip out your own eye, but like, you know, if this was the only option, would you do it? You know what I mean? It's like, to Rachel, that was the only option. And so I was, you know, I at least in the story, and so I was really grateful that like the audience did choose that, because there were some other paths that I would have been like, oh shoot. But this was good. I think, and maybe that had something to do with the turning point for Rachel.
Yeah, that, and for context for you, also Eric surfacing that he had more or less kind of like, not pressured, but had conversations with Rachel to encourage her to have faith, or maybe pressured, right? We weren't there for it. So that was also a big part of the turning point.
Oh yeah, huge.
So we said that the eye was the turning point, but whether humorously or in earnest, what was your favorite scene to record for Rachel?
Oh, that's a really, really good question. I think for me, it was the opening scene, really, like the first one that comes out with, oh my gosh, the first scene with the ceremony, like that for me was the first scene that I recorded, and so that always holds a very special part in my heart for Silent Hill Ascension. And that was, I think, the kind of almost like, the first scene that kind of pops up when I started watching Ascension.
Yeah, and that scene, I believe that scene was in the trailers too, or we showed it.
Yeah, it was in the trailers. Yeah.
So, you know, and for us on the dev team too, we use that scene to test a lot. So I'm pretty sure I have it memorized.
100%. Yeah. And that was where, you know, that was honestly, Layla, that was the first scene that I actually saw with my voice to like Rachel, and I was like, whoa, that's so cool. So it does, like, there were wonderful, awesome scenes in this, but like that one for me always holds a very special part, because it was like, wow, that's my voice on you know, that avatar, and that looks so cool. And it's also like the design was so beautiful, and just hearing like how all the pieces came together was just like, it was a very beautiful moment for me. So that'll always be my favorite scene.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. That must be a surreal moment. I'm happy you got to experience. We got an audience question that I think dovetails nicely, which is what kind of relationship do you have with your coworkers on the project? Did you ever get to meet them or talk to them? Because I know a lot of the recording was done separately.
Yeah, so I think I met. I did a lot of work with the director, but I didn't really get to work with anyone else. And maybe there was just like passing. Like I think I met Xavier once, but like everyone was really really nice. Everyone who I've met, and a lot of the recording was done separately for this. So I had a great relationship with our director and our sound guy. Shout out to everybody who was in the booth and who was there in the trenches. And so yeah, I did not unfortunately get to meet a lot of the other actors who were doing the recording with us.
Yeah, well, lots of shouts for Tiffany, by the way, on these interviews. Go Tiff.
She was my angel throughout this whole thing, and I like shout out to Tiffany wherever you are. Just phenomenal. Yeah, Martin and Jordan, everyone was they were great, phenomenal.
I'm again jazzed to hear it. Yeah. Different phrasing. Well, what is your take on the whole Eric and Krista thing?
Ugh, what a can I swear? Can I swear
yeah.
on this?
You can swear in a limited fashion for emphasis. We as a guest.
Yeah, well, she's a bitch, but like, sorry, but no. That's my initial reaction, but like, I think I love the drama. Honestly, whoever wrote that in, I was like, kind of love it, because I'm all about as a chismosa, like on my, on my side, I'm like, ooh, yes, like I love that, like get chisme. So for me, like that was like a great little part of the story. But as Rachel, like, of course, it's those feelings of like, God, what a bee, how could you do that to me and my husband and like the life that we built together? And then that, like, as I was working on those scenes, like, it really turned into like, what did I do? Like, did I do something wrong? So, it's, and obviously no spoilers for, the scenes to come. But I think the way that I approached it was like, this is life. This is what happens. Like, it is what happens in real life sometimes. Like, it's true. So I think that was very realistic. But like, it's also, as I was working on that, for later scenes, it was just like, okay, how do I make this real to me? And realizing that like, maybe I did something wrong. I don't know. So who knows? We've got to figure things out as we move through life, and we have to be okay, learn how to be okay with things that happen.
Yeah, Eric definitely throws some accusations at Rachel's feet about some mistreatment.
Yeah, and 100%. And then like I allowed all of that to just be very like allow it to hit me as just like, that feeling of like, how dare you, when it came at me. And, I was working on it. So agreed. Yeah. Like throwing those accusations, because I do believe like Rachel for the longest, for their relationship, felt that she was doing the right thing the entire time. And so when those accusations come, like for me, it was like, how dare you, do that? So it did, like, it took Rachel by surprise. And then, of course, there's always doubt. There's always going to be doubt. And it's a very human thing. And how we let that doubt affect us and affect others is just how we move forward.
Yeah. And there's a lot of moving forward that these characters have to do. Yeah. We have one last audience question that I think is a nice segue, which is the phrasing here: is it more fun to play a good person or a villain? But what we touched on earlier, is it more fun to play somebody who is good, straightforward, or who has a bit more of like a gray or questionable morality, is I think the way I'd like to phrase that.
Oh, questionable morality. Like, absolutely. I think that's like, it's such a juicy challenge for an actor, especially like I don't want to toot my own horn, Layla. I think I'm a really good person.
Oh, this is the space to toot.
Okay. So then toot, I'm a good person, and I know I'm a good person. So for me, it's very challenging to work on characters that have questionable morality. And it's really fun because I get to find a way in to make it believable to me so that I can tell the story and give the story justice. So for me, that's always way more fun than like playing the good hero. I love playing the villain. I've got great villain hair. And so thank you, right? So it's just, I really do enjoy it, which is so funny because I'll tell this quick little story. Like when I was a little girl, my mom threw a piece of gum outside the car window and I started to sob. And she's like, "Why are you crying?" And I was like, "Mom, you're going to kill the ducks because the ducks are going to swallow it and they're going to die." And so I made my mom go back and get the gum. And so like, I'm just like, I always have had good morals and like the feeling, the empathy, right? So playing characters with like questionable morals are just really juicy to me, and it's such a challenge, and I'm ready to take on that challenge whenever I can.
Yeah, I'll validate you in that the hair is really giving Shigo from Kim Possible. It's giving young Mother Gothel. The volume, it's giving Michelle Pfeiffer and Stardust. You know, you've got volume and a presence, and that you need that in a villain.
Thank you.
Well, our last question: do you have any parting messages for our audience?
I think, you know, if there's anything that we can learn, right, from these characters, I just think like take care of each other, like really take care of each other, and not just like, you know, and not just like shooting a text, but like really looking at someone in the eyes and saying, "How are you? How are you doing?" Really check in and take care of each other, because I think sometimes we forget to do that to even strangers or people that are closest, especially people that are closest to us. So take care of each other.
Take care of each other. Take care of your neighborhood ducks and all the life. Well, thank you so much, Wilma. What a pleasure. Production is going to throw up Wilma's Instagram handle for all of you to follow her on the social singular. Ta-da! So take a second, screenshot it. Opposite side. There you go. It's so hard.
There you go.
With the cameras. Take a second, screenshot it, write it down, put it on a paper airplane and throw it at yourself. Go follow Wilma, support her in all of her voice and also video acting endeavors. If you see her in a movie, or I don't know if you do stage stuff, a play, wherever you see Wilma, go support her. That is my mandate.
Thank you. Thanks, Layla.
Of course. We have a little bit of housekeeping, if you wouldn't mind keeping me company through the end of our show. Which production, we have another beautiful graphic to put up about the cameos. Da 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 da! The final cinematic cameo is coming up. This will be your last chance to be part of the Silent Hill Ascension canon. The cameo contest will close on Monday, April 8th. Details on the end of the canon run will come at a later date. So if you want to be in the story, you got one more chance to take a shot at it. So be ready for that. It'll close on the 8th. That being said, after the final cinematic cameo closes, you will still be able to join us cameos during Endure, so the cameo contest will still be open, and we still have weeks to go for Ascension, so plenty of opportunity to show up as a corpse, or show up as somebody who's about to be a corpse, or perhaps wishes to be a corpse, who's to say. But hey, we are now near the end of the show. Wilma, it has been such a wonderful pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. We saw today just escalation upon escalation in both Norway and Pennsylvania. You know, these stories are coming to a beautiful climax, and thank you so much for lending your talent to it. Rachel is a wonderful, complicated, nuanced person to watch move through these troubling situations, and we're so happy that you happened upon the role and got it, and that you love the experience.
Yeah, thank you. It was wonderful, Layla. So thank you all for tuning in, and I really appreciate being here.
Absolutely. Production, if you wouldn't mind throwing up the run of show graphics so I can take us out. As per usual, everybody, 5:40 p.m. Pacific, pre-show, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, with either me, Eduardo, or Noah, some combination of two of the three of us. Then you'll see the show at 6 p.m. Pacific every weekday, and then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you come right back to a combination of your three, beloved hosts, Captain Tuggy and the judging aunties, as I am trying to shop our band around. I don't know what genre it'll be yet. We'll figure it out. Thank you all so much for joining us on your Friday evening. Have a wonderful weekend. And Wilma, again, thank you so much. We'll see you all on Monday.
Thanks, guys.